UK jobless rate falling to a 3-year low last week, why is it that youth unemployment remains above 20%?
Why does youth unemployment remain above 20%? Sadiq Khan, you start on this.
Lots of reasons why we've still got a huge level of youth unemployment. One of the things that we were in government, is a guarantee for young people. If you're a graduate out of work for 6 months, you'd be guaranteed a job. The problem now is the government's idea of getting young people into work is just to get them stuck in shelves. I think that's inadequate. What you need to do is give young people the skills they need to make them attractive to employ. So work with employers to devise an apprenticeship scheme that will be useful to the employer, useful to the young person. Focus on the 50% who don't go to university. For example, a technical baccalaureate, vocational skills that will make them desirable to employers. Give young people the skills they need to make them attractive to employers. I think one of the great tragedies is the wasted talent amongst young people. One of the things I'm in favour of is a future jobs guarantee for a young person. If you're out of work for a year, we will guarantee you a job with an employer. We'll subsidise that with the employer. That way the employer gets some subsidy from the government. You as a young person get into work, get the skills, training you need to be attractive, start paying taxes, start paying national insurance.
Can you truthfully say that you can guarantee a job?
You can. Basically,
who are these employers
because
just
what you do
waiting?
is, David,
they're all shaking their heads.
When you speak to small and medium-sized employers, they say one of the problems with the young people leaving colleges is they don't have the skills that we need. So you work in various parts of the country with the employers, the manufacturers, those who need skilled young people, and this will be one of the reasons why you'll be attractive rather than the big concern and criticism people have is people from overseas coming and taking some of these jobs.
All right, the woman there with the white all over on you, yes.
I'm doing a 4-year degree with a sandwich course right now. I'm in my 2nd year, so I'm looking for my placement. And I go on websites where there's 70 placements for accounting and finance, but only 7 are in the northwest. They're all down south in London.
And somebody earlier was saying they move. Would you move?
I would move if I couldn't get one in Manchester.
OK, you, sir, here in the front row.
Yes, surely you're talking about this. This all comes down to the downturn of industry in this country, and that industry has been eroded year after year after year after year. The whole problem is, if we started, for example, with nuclear energy, if we brought nuclear energy and the manufacture of the nuclear plants back to English people from a French company somewhere, that's going to provide apprenticeships.
But the point here is that employment overall is rising, but unemployment among the young has stood still. The woman at the very back there... Sorry, that's right. You in the back.
You're always talking about young people needing skills, and if they've got skills, there'll be a job for them. The jobs are not there. I've got a 28-year-old with a master's degree. And she's got loads of skills, and she's worked in Budapest, and she's worked on the West Bank, and she's worked for UNESCO in Paris for 6 months, unpaid as an intern. She's now working in Japan on a 3-month contract teaching English. She cannot get a job in the UK. You say move. The only time she's ever been able to move, she still can't get a job that will pay for housing, so she goes and illegally sublets because that's the only way she can afford somewhere to live. And an awful lot of her friends are in the same situation. Okay. They're trapped. They can't move, and the jobs aren't there, and they've got loads of skills.
Trapped.
Trapped.
There you have
it. Well, one thing I have to disagree with Sadiq about is not...
Why not take her point instead of disagreeing with Sadiq again?
Well, no, I was going to come to exactly her point and explain what I think the issue is. But I do want to say this. It's not governments that create jobs. It's the private sector that create jobs. And over the last 3 years, 400,000 new businesses have been created. And that's why we have 1.1 million more people in employment than we did 3 years ago. And I think that, you know, there are some signs that the tide is turning for youth unemployment. If you ask me what the single thing we could do that would make a big difference in this area, it is to make sure that the skills that people leave college or university with are relevant to the jobs market. And I think we did have a system where sometimes people were getting certificates but they weren't actually matched very well with the kind of things that employers
The
were
lady who
looking
spoke
for.
at the back, her daughter seemed to have every qualification under the
I
sun.
mean, like a job in McDonald's. I mean, I've been with my daughter round Preston giving out CVs, and they've opened the cupboard and said, oh, we don't want another one, look at all these.
Yeah, well, I think, let me say this, I think we have let down people like your daughter. I think that is the reality. We have let them down, and what we have to do is to make sure that all those years of education, what they come out with is a qualification that is valued by employers. And what is worrying to me is that we have a situation where unemployment is falling, jobs are going up, but it's not making a big dent in youth unemployment. And that's why I think we do need to look at the education system, at vocational education and apprenticeships.
And nothing is worse than that galling experience of looking for a job and not being able to find it. But here in this area, in the northwest, there is better news coming. So, for instance, HS2, that's quite far down the track, electrification. But the airport development is bringing jobs, but also for Greater Manchester, there's now a 5.8 million investment, and it is specifically about helping people to get into work, helping young people in particular to get into work. And as I said before, apprenticeships in this area, and I'm sorry that that doesn't apply to your incredibly qualified daughter, but apprenticeships have gone up 90% since Labour were in power. And I just want to say that...
Since Labour were in power?
Since Labour left power. I'm sorry, since
Which
Labour
coalition are you in, madam?
And I just want to say, and this is an important point with regard to the 50% that don't go to university, because the gentleman raised that issue earlier. And Ed Miliband talks about, you know, kind of the 50%, and he describes it as, you know, kind of the rest, or the people that almost don't matter or don't count. We do count those of us who didn't go to university, and the people that do apprenticeships, and the people that have done other routes to get into work.
Thank you. I want us to bring in, before we finish, some people who are affected by this who haven't spoken yet. Don't stick your hand up if you've spoken already. You haven't spoken, OK. You have or you haven't?
No, I haven't.
No, OK, fire away.
What I'd say is, you say employment's gone up, but what kind of jobs are they? Are there 0 hours where people are getting 15 hours a week? Are they agency jobs? Are they agency jobs where I've got employment agencies phoning me up saying, oh, we've got a job for you tomorrow, can you go down? I'll go down, only to find out it's a one-day contract.
OK,
you know what I mean?
And you, sir, with the beard?
Sadiq Khan, you know, it's all right bashing Conservative policies all the time, and I agree, there's massive problems with part-time jobs, etc. But where are you going to get your money from? You know, Labour's, you know, always their answer is let's borrow our way out of any problem. You're saying, you know, where are you going to get the money from for your policy?
Yeah.
All right. And somebody who hasn't spoken on this side, the over-60s. You, sir, with the silver hair, appropriately, yes.
Yeah.
And the spectacles, yes.
The job sets, they're fixed. I mean, they talk about jobs, they're part-time jobs. Who can live on part-time jobs? And this is where the figures are all fixed.
Are you sympathetic to the youth who can't get work?
Yes, dead right, yes.
Yeah. And you say over here?
The reason there are no jobs is the way the economy is structured. If you pay somebody £4 million a year for sitting, pushing a mouse around a desk, and instead give them 100,000 and spend that money on some of these young people and give them jobs, they'll gain experience and we'll all benefit.
All right.